Welcome to Elevated Women. I'm Myra Swan Kotze. If you are a woman in senior leadership, an executive carrying the weight of massive responsibility, this space is for you. My clients often call me their secret weapon, not for strategy or tactics, but for managing the silent accumulation of pressure that comes with leading at this level. Here we talk about the one thing most leadership spaces ignore: how that pressure lives in your body. This is where we explore what it really takes to stay in the role you love without your health, your clarity, or your family paying the price. I'm glad to have you here. Hello, and welcome back to the final episode of this functional series. And welcome back to Elevated Woman. We have traveled through the silent accumulation of pressure, the trap of endurance, the cognitive tax of your clarity, and the warning lights your body sends before burnout. Today, we are going to talk about a specific phenomenon that I see almost daily in my private practice. It's the age 50 reckoning. If you are a woman in your late 40s or early 50s sitting in senior leadership roles, you might recognize a feeling that has been creeping in. It's quiet, persistent, and questioning. You look at your calendar, you look at your boardroom deck, you look at the next 5 years of your career trajectory, and for the first time in your life, you think, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Or maybe more accurately, I don't know if I can keep doing it this way. But suddenly the weight of the role feels heavier. The travel seems more exhausting. The corporate politics feels more draining. And the cost of the job, the time away from family, the impact on your health starts to look like a bad investment. Most women blame this on midlife crisis, or they assume that they've just lost their ambition. They think, maybe I've just reached my limit. Maybe it's time to step aside and let someone younger with more energy take the wheel. But as a specialist, I want to tell you something that might change your entire perspective on your future. This isn't a crisis of ambition. It is a crisis of biology. You haven't lost your drive. What happened is that your body has removed the buffer that allowed you to ignore the pressure for 20 years. You are hitting a wall not because you are done, but because your nervous system is finally demanding a seat at the table. To understand why 50 feels so different from 35, we have to talk about the silent partner in your leadership: your hormones. And I know men don't believe in this, but it's really so utterly important for a woman in senior leadership at 50. For the first 20 plus years of your career, you had a biological advantage that you probably weren't even aware of. Estrogen is much more than just a productive hormone. In the brain, it acts as a neuroprotective buffer. It helps regulate your stress response. It supports your memory. And it essentially insulates your nervous system against the harshness of high cortisol environments. When you were 35 and you had a high stakes week, estrogen was helping your brain stay resilient. It made it easier for your nervous system to bounce back after a hard hit. But as you enter perimenopause or move towards menopause, that buffer begins to fluctuate and eventually decline. Suddenly, the insulation is gone. The same boardroom conflict that you have brushed off 5 years ago now leaves you feeling jittery for 3 days. The lack of sleep that used to be a minor annoyance now feels like a total cognitive shutdown. The pressure hasn't actually increased. The environment is the same as it's always been, but your biological capacity to absorb that pressure has shifted. And that is very important. I need you to hear this. I need you to feel it in your body. This is the point where many women feel like they are failing. They see themselves struggling with things that used to be easy, and they assume it is a personal weakness. But it isn't. It's physiological. Your nervous system is now exposed. It's feeling the full weight of the accumulation we talked about in episode 1 without the hormonal shield that used to protect you. And this is the point where I want to share something personal with you. For many women, this moment happens around 50. For me, it happened much earlier. I moved into senior management very early in my career. I climbed quickly. I loved the work, the responsibility, the challenges of leadership. But somewhere around my early 40s, around 42, something began changing in my body. At the time, I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know anything about nervous system regulation. I didn't understand how sustained pressure accumulates in the body over years of leadership. All I knew was that what my body was feeling had started to change. The pace that I have carried for years suddenly felt unsustainable. My body was reacting to the pressure in ways I couldn't explain. Eventually, that led me to make a life decision that many people around me didn't understand. I stepped away from that world. I left South Africa and I moved to Thailand with my family. Looking back now, I can see that it was my body asking for something that my mind had not yet understood. And that moment started a deep personal quest for answers. I wanted to understand something very specific. Why do so many brilliant women reach a point where their bodies stop them from continuing in a career that they absolutely love? Why does the body suddenly say, we can't keep doing this? That search led me to years of study, NLP, timeline therapy, somatic and nervous system work, and it led me into the work I have been doing for a decade, helping executive women stabilize their nervous systems so they don't have to walk away from the career they love the way I once did, and the way so many women still do. Because for many women, the issue isn't leadership. The issue is the state of the body while leading. By the time we reach 50, the stakes of our personal lives have changed too. You might be a part of what's called the sandwich generation, caring for aging parents while still supporting teenagers or young adults. In earlier episodes, we talked about how your nervous system state dictates the weather in your home. At 50, because your biological buffer is thinner, you often have less emotional bandwidth to spare. I hear this from executive women consistently. I give 100% of my patience and my regulation to my team all day. By the time I walk through my front door, I have nothing left for my husband, nothing left for my kids. I'm a ghost in my own house. And this is where the reassessment truly begins. When you realize your career success is actively bankrupting your family life, the cost-benefit analysis of leadership starts to shift. You begin asking questions you never asked before. Is the title worth the silence at the dinner table? Is the salary worth never feeling fully present with the people that you love? But here is the truth. You do not have to choose between your leadership and your life. The reason it feels that way is because you are trying to lead using a survival-based nervous system. You are still trying to use grit and endurance to solve problems that now require regulation and somatic wisdom. If you keep trying to lead like you are 30, your body will eventually stop you. And believe me, I've seen this happen many times. But if you learn to lead with the body that you have now, you may actually be entering the most powerful season of leadership yet. So how do we stay in the game? How do we stop the age 50 reckoning from ending a brilliant career? It begins with a shift. moving away from the traditional executive coaching model of doing more and towards something totally different. At this stage of life, performance is no longer about how many hours you can work, how much pressure you can handle. It's about how intelligently you manage your energy and nervous system. When the nervous system stabilizes, something remarkable happens. The brain fog clears, sleep restores, emotional reactivity settles, and many women discover something surprising. They don't actually want to quit their jobs. They simply want to quit the physiological state they were in while doing the job. Leadership in your 50s should be the era of wisdom and impact, not exhaustion. The most valuable person in the room is really the one working the hardest. It is the one with the clearest, most regulated nervous system in the building. When a leader is regulated, she becomes a tuning fork in her organization. She stabilizes rooms. She sees opportunities that others miss. She leads with presence. This is what I call the somatic executive. She is not surviving leadership. She is embodying it fully. As we close this foundational series, I want to leave you with one final thought. Your leadership legacy matters. The business you've built, the teams you have mentored, the impact you have created, all of that matters. But your legacy of health matters more. If you reach the pinnacle of your career, but your body is exhausted and your personal life has disappeared in the process, that is far too high a price to pay. The work we do, regulating the nervous system, protecting the body, restoring clarity, is not just about staying in the job longer. It's about ensuring that when you eventually leave, you leave as a whole, vibrant woman, not a ghost. You deserve a body that feels like home. You deserve a mind that is clear and sharp. You deserve to walk through your front door and still have energy for the people who matters most. Leadership pressure does not have to be a life sentence for your health. I want you to listen to that. I want you to hear it again. I'm going to repeat it. Leadership pressure does not have to be a life sentence for your health. Sometimes it becomes the catalyst that teaches you how to finally inhibit your power. If this series has helped you to see things differently and you want to investigate working with me, I will leave the link in the show notes. Thank you for being here. See you in the next episode. If something in this conversation resonated with you, and you're a woman in senior leadership who recognizes the impact sustained pressure may be having on your body, I invite you to learn more about my private work at myraswankotze.com. I work with a small number of executive women who want to stabilize their nervous system, protect their health, and continue leading without their body quietly carrying the cost. I also invite you to follow the podcast so that we can continue this journey together. It ensures each new episode is waiting for you whenever you are ready to tune back into your body. Thank you for being here. I'll see you on the next episode.